Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball Podcast, episode 52. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaren Will each and every week, and we are going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
it's just basketball.
So if you're joining us now, episode 52, you probably know by now that we're either covering Notre Dame or that we've covered Ball State and Butler and Evansville and IU and Indiana State and IU Indy, and you're here for the next one. So whatever brings you here, thank you. Glad you're here. And we are going to be talking about the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. And this is one that I think you and I are both super excited about because I think that there's a lot of potential here.
Yeah.
And I think we, really are excited for this season because there is a lot of positive buzz, at least in this room. And so we're pumped to talk about them and pumped to really get into it because I think that people have been talking. There's been a lot of talk of Indiana and Purdue making the tournament, but we don't think there's only two tournament teams in this state. So
we think there's several. And
one of going to say 7, and I was like, bold. I would love it. I think that there's
5,
probably 5.
5. Yeah,
there's a 6th one that could get in there, but I think that 6 is probably our upper limit.
Yeah.
5 is.
I think 5 is realistic, and of those 5, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
For sure.
Spoiler alert. And we'll talk to it. We'll explain why we think that. But first, Adam, tell me about Notre Dame and what they did last year.
So Notre Dame, they are heading into year 2 of the Micah Shrewsbury era. We talked about this last year. We were very high on the hire of Micah Shrewsbury, and those who know ball were very high on the hire of Micah Shrewsbury. If you were following their recruiting in the last month, you know that the players and recruits are very high on the hire of Micah Shrewsbury. So, good things to look forward to there. But last year, not an incredible season. He took over after being at Penn State for 2 years, and he was 50 and 51 through his first, 3 years of head coaching. And, just one below 500, but still pretty good. So last year, they ended the season 124 in Torvik, and they went 13-20 overall and 7-13 in the ACC. Finished 12th out of the 15. Gonna be more than 15 this year out of the 15 ACC teams. So, not a great year one, but it was a complete rebuild.
Yeah. And I think the intent with the roster that he built, he being Micah Shrewsbury built last year, was not necessarily to win now. Right? He didn't load the roster up with a bunch of transfers,
right,
a bunch of guys that, had a lot of college experience to win now. And I think that is shown in, at least this year, in the preseason rankings and projected records, because it is quite different in my eyes, at least.
Yeah, and there's been, I think John Rothstein had some positive things to say about, had them as a sleeper team or something for this upcoming season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's definitely fair, but I don't think that we're going to classify them as a sleeper. I think we're expecting them to be good. But yeah, you remember last year was that they lost at home to the Citadel by 20.
Yeah. And then Shrews kind of
had a fired up.
Yeah, at a very intense, if you don't want to play, I'll help you find somewhere else.
You will sit on the bench and rot, and I will go to compliance and I will help you transfer. And, team definitely improved after that point.
For sure.
He took some accountability and said, it starts with me, which I love that from him. I just love everything about him as a coach.
Yeah, he sent Braden to the bench. Braden started the season, his son, as a starter. And, shortly after that Citadel game, Braden started coming off the bench and played well. Mm-hmm. Just one of those things. Just he's not, try to think. He doesn't lead through nepotism, I guess.
He
a lot of times,
he plays and what he coaches in the way that he knows is going to be most effective.
Yeah.
and he's going to motivate people in whatever way he needs to and do what's best to win. And we saw that in his second year at Penn State. I mean, he was just like, they were rolling. They could have won 2 games in the NCAA tournament. I don't remember who they ran into in the second game, but I think they lost by like 8 or something. It was a good game. He had a good team and specifically a great player. And I think, looking at his team, it should be an improvement from last year. I think that he needed to get just kind of better players in, but I think that's happening. So let's talk about this upcoming season. So they were finished the season last year at 124th, went 13-20. What are they projected to do this season?
Preseason, they are currently ranked 67th, according to our good friend Bart Torvik.
Big jump.
Quite a big jump. I'd say that'd be 100% jump, considering. Listen,
man, we're going from 120 to 60 and saying 100%. It's getting me all confused.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess it'd be a net. I don't know. I don't know the exact terminology of what it would be, but it is a huge jump, right? They are.
I think that's exactly what it is. It's the official thing is a huge jump.
Yeah. So their projected record is 17-14 and 10-10 in the ACC, which would have them at 11th. So not quite as huge of a jump if you think about where they finished last year versus this year, but the ACC is bigger. So they are, closer to the top than they at 11 and at 11th out of 18 teams?
17, I think, because they just added 18, right? Cal, Stanford, and SMU were the 3 that came in.
Yes.
And then they were already at 15. I will live fact check that.
That sounds right. But, yeah. So, I mean, 11th in the ACC. Think that it is, sorry. Our
friend.
Our dog, you probably can't hear it. It doesn't sound like it's getting picked up, but we've got a friend. My dog is going crazy at him.
Can you blame him? He's fired up about the
fighting Irish,
man.
But yeah,
fight for the Irish.
So they are currently projected to finish 11th in the ACC, but we think that'll be underperforming, I think, is the best way to put it, if they finish 11th.
Yeah, I think that's they're going to outperform that rank. And teams that they have above them: Duke, North Carolina, Miami, Wake Forest, Clemson, Pitt, SMU, NC State, Louisville, and Virginia.
I lost track.
That's some shade from our buddy Bart over here, having them so far down. The new ACC. Like, does he not know what Micah Shrewsbury is? Does the algorithm not know what Micah is cooking?
It's not familiar with his game.
It really isn't, man. And let's talk about some reasons. Like, his coaching is obviously a huge reason, but I think that let's talk about some reasons why we're so high on this team. Other than the fact that Virginia wasn't good last year, but they did trounce Virginia by 20. They swept Georgia Tech last year.
Yep. Had
some really, really impressive performances. They had some head scratchers, but those are kind of early on head scratchers, and then they kind of played a little bit better than that. So reasons to be excited is the people that they're bringing back, right? So they returned 7 people who got more than 15 minutes per game, and they returned 4 of the 5 starters. So the one person that they don't return of their starters from last year is Kerry Booth. He transferred to Illinois. So Illinois projected top 3-4 in the Big Ten. Supposed to be also really good. So if he's transferring to Illinois, pretty good player. So that does stink. But they bring back their most important player, Mr. Basketball in the state of Indiana from 2023. That's Marcus Burton, the true short king. He's a 5'11" sophomore guard. Played what felt like every minute. Played almost 34 minutes per game. Averaged 17.5 points. 4.3 assists, and shot only 30% from 3, so not good, but I mean, he did have to take a ton of shots.
Yeah.
And, he was the bulk of their offense. I don't know if he took the most threes, but there's no doubt in my mind he took the most shots.
Yeah, he definitely took the most shots. I think Braden probably took the most threes, maybe. But I think Adam's gonna look it up. But yeah, definitely, he's a superstar point guard at 5'11".
I mean, he was what, ACC Freshman of the Year?
Yep. Tested the NBA waters just to get some feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, didn't stay in the draft, which is, I think better for him and also better for the Irish. Talked about it a little bit. Braden Shrewsbury, another guy coming back. He's a 6'3" sophomore shooting guard. He played 28.3 minutes per game, averaged 10 points per game, and was a 37% 3-point shooter. So definitely higher percentage than Marcus, but that was really what Braden's role was to knock down threes. So volume aside, obviously 37% is really impressive.
Yeah, so 37% is really great. Anytime you're above 35 is pretty good. 40 is like elite. For reference, last year Marcus Burton shot 143s. He made 42 of them. Braden Shrewsbury shot 210 and made 78 of them. So I mean, he shot 70 more.
Yeah.
Than Marcus, and made them at obviously a higher clip. So that's promising as a shooter. I mean, that's an Indiana. I mean, I know Marcus is an Indiana kid, but I mean, other than the year he had to move out to Pennsylvania, I mean, Braden Shrewsbury, he's an Indiana kid too, and it shows. So he can shoot definitely, and I think that we will see him probably be the starting and locked in at that 2 guard spot for the year. They bring back their other 2 starters that came back. Tay Davis, 6'9" junior wing, 26 minutes per game, 9 points and 5 rebounds. And then Keba Njai comes back. He's 6'10" junior forward, 24 minutes per game, 4.3 points and 5.4 points. So, if they can produce a little bit more, have a little bit of a jump, pretty young team. But if they can have like those players who aren't Marcus Burton, can have a bit of a jump, take some of the scoring load off him, the team's going to be a lot better for it. What do you think? Anyone else? Knesny comes back.
Yeah, Jarek Knesny, Julian Roper, and Logan Imes. I think all, role players last year.
And those are all 7 of the people who got like 15 or more minutes.
Yeah. So definitely guys that they got a lot of experience. I mean, they're young, relatively.
Yeah.
And guys that are experienced, and I think that is a big reason why they made such a big jump in the preseason rankings, along with 3, pretty important newcomers. And Adam, tell us who those newcomers are.
So the one that I think is the biggest pickup for them, I think the most important spot that they were missing is the thing they needed most was shooting, right?
Yep.
You had Braden Shrewsbury who shot what'd you say, 37%?
37%.
And then, other than that, you had Knesny shot 33%. Roper shot 33%. And so you didn't have anyone who was like a knockdown shooter. They got that with Mataloko. He's a super senior guard from Princeton. He's 6'4", so I would imagine we see him at the 3, kind of go that 3 guard lineup with, 3 smaller guards. And then, 6'4" is pretty good size for the 3 spot.
Yep.
Not like the 6'8" that Indiana's going to be, someone like Indiana or Purdue. Mm-hmm. Purdue could be rolling with some big 3 guards. But he played, really, really large volumes and had good production at Princeton, 33 minutes per game and 12.7 points per game. And then almost 43% from 3. So we were talking about above 40% is that kind of knockdown shooter,
elite level shooting.
That's like elite. That's exactly what they needed. And that's, I think, not just one of the best pickups for Notre Dame, but like one of the best pickups probably in the ACC that they could have gotten. So that he's number 1 for me.
Yeah. Another guy, Burke Chebahar, a 6'8" super senior forward from Lehigh, played just under 23 minutes per game. He had 7.5 points per game and 5 rebounds per game. So just some depth there at the forward position, right? Like we talked about, Tay Davis, Kevin Jai. And then you've got Burke, who's, waiting in the rafters, ready to come in and play some key minutes for the Irish.
Yeah, and I mean, you have, they needed some more front court depth. So he brings that. And then the other guy that I think helps with that is Nikita Konstantinovsky. He's 6'10", super senior season his last year too. So, he was obviously looking for someone in this role to come in, have experience. And he got two guys. He played almost 24 minutes and 10 points per game and 8 boards. So like huge. He comes over from Monmouth. So you've got two guys with proven production that can really help bolster the front court, because the front court last year was weaker than the back court, because you have Braden and Marcus in the back court, so that was pretty strong. So you needed something else in the front court for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's where they definitely were the weakest, like you said, and it was definitely seen throughout the ACC season.
Mm-hmm.
So having that,
especially with how many like good bigs there are, like if you don't have someone to match up against, he's gone now, but like Armando Bacot, like good luck. He's gonna get 20 and 20 on you.
Yeah, for sure. So let's look at their some key games that they have coming up this season. A big one that we are very excited for, both Adam and I personally, but I think we're excited for the state, is they've got a charity exhibition against Purdue Fort Wayne in Fort Wayne. So the Irish are coming up. I think they're playing at the Coliseum, and I have no doubt that it would sell out.
It should sell out, especially because tickets are like $15.
Yeah,
I think it's just like 15 flat. First come first serve, because they're doing it for charity. They're not trying to make you broke to go to this game. They're saying one, it's a game that doesn't matter on the records, but like they're doing it for charity. So you want to get as many people as you can possibly get to go there. And that's nice because, it's nice for the Purdue Fort Wayne fans, obviously, but it's nice for the Notre Dame fans who live in the northeastern part of the state.
Yep.
And it's not too far where Notre Dame fans from an hour away will travel.
Yeah. Oh, right? For sure. And I mean, Fort Wayne's a pretty populous city, and there are undoubtedly a huge amount of fans, Notre Dame fans in the city too. So I definitely think it'll sell out. It'll be an awesome game, both just to kind of, Purdue Fort Wayne to get experience against a, really good team, and also Notre Dame to get experience against a pretty good team. So we'll,
and that's on October 30th.
Yep.
So I don't know exactly what day this is coming out. We're pre-recording this, but that's soon. So go get your tickets if you haven't already. And like, it's just awesome to see, and like awesome to see that, Shrewsbury's willing to do that, to come into, like play a team. He's not playing a power conference team like a lot of these other people are doing in charity exhibitions, but he's doing something that benefits the state and is very helpful to the fans of both teams, and builds kind of what we want as the state of basketball, where we've got matchups in the state all the time, and you can watch something that matters, and it will, I think, provide a litmus test for both of these teams, because we haven't talked about Purdue Fort Wayne yet, but we think that they're going to be pretty good, and this should be a good game. So it's not on a football Saturday, so Notre Dame fans show up.
Yeah, for sure. They also play at Georgetown on November 16th. That'll be a pretty good one. Georgetown is preseason ranked 106th, so a few spots down from Notre Dame. But, Georgetown is just one of those legendary programs, and there's been a lot of conversation around them in recent years. And, definitely I think that that's a program that's on an upswing compared to
Dooley there.
Compared to what they were the last few seasons. So definitely exciting to see that game. And then they also play in the Players Era players.
The players. I mean, honestly, I mean it's the NIL tournament that you've probably heard about. It's in Vegas, and every team that plays gets $1 million in NIL, and then for their team, and then every like the winning team, I think maybe if you go undefeated, you get like $1 million more dollars or something. I don't know about that aspect, but I know each team going in gets $1 million in NIL money, which is, if you ask me, like going to be more coveted. Yeah, so there's like two divisions, right?
Yeah, there's two divisions. There's the power tournament and the impact tournament.
I think if you go 3-0, because there's 4 teams in each thing. If you go 3-0, then you get $1 million in additional, which is awesome. And I think, if that, I mean, that somehow got cleared, which is cool. And I think it's awesome for the teams. And you see a lot of teams trying to get into this in the next couple of seasons. It's going to be like more coveted than Maui and the Battle for Atlantis, because those are like storied tournaments, especially Maui. But like, just to have that additional $1 million to do something specifically for your players, like every team is going to try and get into this.
Yeah, I mean they've already got 7 teams committed for the following year. Like we said, there's 2 4-team divisions. They already have 7 teams for 2025. That's already a loaded slate.
Yeah.
Who knows? It could be, there could be more than 2 divisions at the rate that it's already growing.
Yeah,
and there's
I don't know who's funding it, but thank you.
Yeah, no kidding. I think it's the MGM Grand funding it, to be real with you.
Nice. Everyone's gonna be betting on it. They're gonna make their money. Then their other non-conference game of note is they're at Georgia, who's ranked 40th in Torvik, and they play that game on December 3rd. And then ACC play starts after that. At the end of the year, beginning of the year, I guess. And then they play double place, because they play 20 games, but there's 18 teams. So then they play everybody once, and then they play 3 teams twice. Oh, which is just absurd.
Yeah.
But they play Boston College, who's 151. They play them twice. Georgia Tech, who's 96. They play them twice. And then Syracuse, who's 72nd in preseason. They play those 3 teams twice. So like, I mean, not a bad draw.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna play 3 teams twice, I think those 3 are probably at the top of my list.
Yeah, you're not pulling Duke, NC State, and Carolina as like your 3. Like, that would be a bad draw. This is a pretty good draw. You only have you only go to Duke and you bring North Carolina in. So that's fortunate.
Yeah.
That's definitely
for sure
for them.
For sure.
Let's talk about their goals, Jaren.
Yep. So goal top of our list, we think, is to make the NCAA tournament, as well as finishing top 6th in the ACC. Currently, 6th preseason is Pitt. They're ranked preseason 51, so not too far off. It is a very realistic goal, I think. And I think if they finish top 6, they're undoubtedly a tournament team.
I would agree.
So, pretty realistic, I think, but also, obviously shoot for more. But I think if you, at the end of the season, we look back and say, okay, they made the tournament and they finished 5th in the conference, that's wildly successful for sure.
Top 5, top 6 is definitely good. And I think that people are starting to put Notre Dame on the list of like, oh my gosh, like they could be a bubble team. That's right. I mean, they should absolutely be aiming. If you're a Notre Dame fan, you should absolutely not, let's say like NCAA tournament or bust, but like go into the season knowing like we can make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Some things have to break your way. You have a very difficult non-conference with that. It's not super difficult, but you've got 4 big games.
Yep.
And that's more than most people. And your 3 games in the Players Era Festival are absurd. So let's talk about that, because they're non-con. We're going to predict your record here. And, the one thing that sticks out to me is that Players Era Festival. You have to play number 19 Rutgers, number 1 Houston, and number 1 Alabama on, what is that, 5 days?
Yep.
back-to-back days, and then you get 2 days off, and then you play on the 30th against Alabama. So it's going to feel like the NCAA tournament. Those are the teams you're going to have to be playing. And, I think that they probably go 1-2.
I think so.
Going 0-3 is not the end of the world because those are going to be quality teams. I think Rutgers is going to be competing for
They
the
should
Big
all be
Ten.
quad one.
Oh, yeah.
Games.
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
Unless Rutgers, just like something doesn't click at Rutgers with all their freshmen, but I don't think that'll be the case. So I think going 1-2 is what you like. If you go 1-2, you come out of that absolutely happy because you're like, okay, we had 3 crazy hard games. We won one of them. The 2 losses don't hurt you. If you go 0-3, that's a little bit rough because you didn't get a win that's going to boost your NCAA tournament resume.
Yeah, in the non-conference at least. Yeah.
So, probably lose to Houston, Alabama, beat Rutgers, and then I think that's it. I think it's they only lose there.
Yeah.
In the non-con, right?
I mean,
I think they can go in and beat Georgia. They can win at Georgetown.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they do play Georgia.
Yeah, I think they can win both of those.
I definitely think they can, especially because they play Georgia, later in December. So they'll have a month, quite literally almost a month of time to kind of mesh. Only concern about the Georgia game would be, that they're playing in Vegas and they fly across the country 3 days later. But still, I do think that 9-2 is on the money for a non-conference.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about this conference schedule or this non-conference schedule is it's all cupcakes at home and then all road or neutral difficult games.
Yep.
So that's exactly, a great way because you're pretty much expected to lose on the road to a top 75 team.
Yeah.
But if you win, that's obviously great for your resume.
Even better. Yeah.
And then in conference, what are they projected to do? 10-10?
Yep. Projections are 10-10.
What do you think? I mean, with the 3 games that 3 teams they have for double plays,
I think 12-8. I think 12-8 is a very reasonable conference record.
They're going to go above 500 if they're making the NCAA tournament
for sure.
So I think 11-9 is fair. 12-8 definitely is where I would have my sights set. So 12-8, 12 plus 9, that's 21. 8 plus 2, that's 10. 21-10. 21-10 gets you in.
If it doesn't, then I protest and I'm going to start a petition to expand the field.
No, especially if you get one of those games in the Players Era Festival, lose to Rutgers and beat Houston, you're getting in.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you go 2-1 in there, if you go 2-1 in the Players Festival, maybe you could go 10-10 and still make it in because you're going to be beating a top Alabama and Houston are going to be top 10 teams preseason.
Yep,
it'll work out for you. So Notre Dame fans aim for the tournament. I think set your expectations that we can make the tournament.
Plan in March for sure.
Yeah, and then think no matter what happens this season, make the tournament or not, you've got the number 1 recruiting class coming in. So
that is very valid.
Keep Marcus Burton for a year.
Yeah,
it's gonna be nasty.
Special things happening in South Bend for sure. Things that we knew would happen.
We called it as soon as
a year ago. We were sitting here saying the same thing.
We're it might not be this year.
But
it's coming.
He's gonna build a powerhouse up in South Bend. So they might be a basketball school when all said and done.
Yeah, Notre Dame fans, you knew it was gonna be positive as soon as IU and Purdue fans are like, oh no, they hired Micah Shrewsbury.
Yeah, for sure.
Purdue fans know all too well how good he is. But you got anything else on the Irish?
I'm excited for their season, man. I'm so excited to see what they accomplish.
And we'll be there the first time they play.
We will be at that charity game.
So October 30th, if you're going to be there, come find us maybe. And, come say hi. So it'll be fun.
Well, the clock is showing quadruple zeros, so it's time for us to get out of here. Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast. We will see you next time. And remember, in 49 states,
it's just basketball.